Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Thursday evening. I'm just out a hot bath because my back does not love me for sitting in the office chair for 4 days. But one more day to go and I'm sorted and I can rest. Um, this evening, we are talking about changed expectations. And the reason we're talking about that is if you've been with the channel for a while, you will know that my ultimate aim is when I am older, I want to, because I'm so rural just now, I want to move into the town so that I'm not having to drive when I'm older, so that the shops are nearer, the doctor's nearer, etc., etc. So every so often I go on to like Rightmove or Zoopla, the property selling websites. And today I was on when I had my cup of tea when I came home. And I was looking and there was this lovely flat in an old building. I was like, oh. And I went on to the pictures and it was beautiful and it was old and it was big and it had the high ceilings with the ornate cornicing, the moulding around the edges of the ceilings. And I was in love. I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. So I'm sitting, binging through the pictures as you do. And I came back to the picture of the lounge and I looked at it again and I was like, how am I going to heat that? There is no way on this earth I can afford to heat a house like that, even if it's a flat. And poof, my little dream disappeared. So then I was thinking, well, what else would I have thought? And my other thing, when I was younger, my dad was a mechanic, so I was into cars. 55 Chevy. I wanted a 55 Chevy. And then I watched Fast and Furious and I wanted a Dodge Charger. So, V8, 3.5 litre, I wanted one of them. And I was like, once I'm old and I've got money, I'm going to get one of them just for the sheer pleasure. That's not happening either. So that got me to thinking, what else in our expectations has changed over the past few years? And it is only in the past few years. And obviously, if you go back to probably about in the UK when austerity was there, what was it, 2008 or something, and people had to start tightening their belts, and mortgages got more difficult to get, and house prices went up way more than wages went up. So the initial thought of owning your own home, which I had when I was at school, my last couple of years at school and when I was at college, it was, yep, and then I'll buy a house and blah, blah, blah. That didn't quite go according to plan, but hey ho, here I am, still trying to own my own house. But that's gone out the window for many people. So that expectation has gone. The old expectation of jobs for life, that's well and truly gone. The expectation of jobs is starting to be a bit sort of, possibly. It was at first it was the robots, now we've got AI. So the job market has changed markedly from when I was a kid. In saying that, I have to just remind anyone with teenage kids, trades are still needed, houses still need to be built, electricity still needs to be provided, etc., etc. We still need trades. But there's so many jobs are going by the by. So jobs are a different thing. Retirement pensions. Certainly here in the UK, that's what our national insurance was for. So we would have a pension when we retired. And that would keep us because we'd paid into this all our working life. That's not happening now. And even if you go into a private pension where you're thinking, right, I'll top it up, a lot of the time, if they have excess in the pension fund, they use it for something else. And then when they have a deficit in the pension fund, it's like, oh, woe is me, we can't afford this. I remember, was it BHS or House of Fraser? I think it was BHS. And the guy from Sports Direct, I think it was, wanted to buy it. But he waited until it went into administration, because then he didn't have to take on the pension fund, which was huge for BHS. People had worked there all their days. So the pension fund went down the pan. And it's now with the government emergency pension fund, which I'm pretty sure they're soon going to go, we can't afford to pay all these pensions. So that expectation's gone as well. So there's a lot of things. I'm sure you can think of things that you've, thought was going to happen, or thought would, looking for that to happen with your kids. And you now realise that that's not going to happen. Actually, what I'm looking for is to be able to keep a roof over our head, to be able to keep food on the table. And that used to be a thing, on my great-grandparents' day, not even my grandparents, my great-grandparents' day. That's how tight things were for them. And then it got better, but now it certainly looks like it's going to get worse. So I have changed my expectations, because there's a lot of what I thought, excuse me, is not going to happen. But let's change our expectations. We'll start with, let's try and keep a roof over our head. If we manage that, we're doing really well. Food on the table, if we manage that, we're doing really well. Electricity, gas, etc. If you manage that, that's a big deal. So let's start with the smaller things, because having expectations of what was possible 20, 30 years ago is just, it's pointless now. So I think we need to change our expectations, and I know I've said it before, but celebrate the small wins. Celebrate the basics. And then if you're able to get anything else, then that's a huge celebration. Because things have changed from where they were when I was younger. And I need to change my expectations to go along with that. As I say, my lovely Victorian flat with the high ceilings and the ornate cornicing and the big bay windows with the floor length curtains that probably would cost me about £500 to put curtains on that window. Who has £500 for curtains? Behave. So yes, that's my thought for today. So I have the wood burner on, Kathleen's out working late, so I'm cozying up the house for her for when she comes in, and tomorrow's Friday. So yeah, cup of tea, and I'll catch you later.